We're rocking and rolling to the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. It's our final round of 2025 at a MotoAmerica Superbikes at New Jersey weekend. Motovation Supersport Race 2 on deck at New Jersey Motorsports Park here in Millville. And today the sun is shining, which means there's going to be heat in the racetrack. And it's an exciting race weekend, especially after what we know about happened yesterday. But before we get into all that, we welcome you to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. So, Jason, yesterday was a big day for Mathew Scholtz. He does it again.
Yeah, he got crowned yesterday, Greg, and really, he's really done a good job again this year defending this championship. And we're going to look at some race one highlights from yesterday. We have perfect weather here. Little cloud cover was really good. Mathew got out front early. See his teammate Blake Davis right behind him. PJ Jacobsen on the Ray Hall Ducati with Cam Peterson behind him as well. Matt would just basically check out. The battle was really going to be for second and who was going to fill out the podium positions. At this point here, we knew PJ would be up there, but we saw this big issue with him, and you can see that rear tire, Greg. It had deflated, had a little chunk missing out of it, big chunk missing out of it. They immediately tried to get Mathew Scholtz to slow down so he didn't maybe get the same fate, only to find out within a couple of laps of that, Greg, we'd get a red flag as you see Blake Davis, Cam Peterson, and Ty Scott coming up over the top. And Strack Racing, back-to-back #1 plates with Mathew Scholtz in really what is a dominating season.
Yeah, so for Scholtz, I think he's going to be running that gold #1 in the race today, too. As we take a look inside the numbers, back-to-back titles like you just mentioned. Second in the Superbike Championship in 2021 and in 2017, the Stock 1000 champion, first Stock 1000 rider to win a Superbike race. And he has had a storied career here. And congratulations to the #1 plate. But the third member of our broadcast team, Jamie Howe, is underneath the blazing sunshine here in New Jersey. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Greg, I can tell you that we have officially reached the warmest track temperature that we have had all weekend long, with the sun very firmly above the racetrack now, track temp at 104 degrees. So things are getting hot and heated. But yesterday, for the 8th time this season, Kayla Yakov was able to finish a race inside of the top 5. But Kayla, wanting to end on just a little bit of a higher note, you've been fighting all season to get yourself onto the podium. Knowing what you know about the way you race here at New Jersey, what can you do today to do that?
Yeah, I think today's going to be honestly a little bit tough. The R7 tire is something that we haven't used all season, and yeah, just a bit of a wrench in the gears here. But you know, we're going to do our absolute best. This morning we had a little bit of issues, but I'm confident that we got a lot of them fixed, and all we got to do is battle like we did at COTA. Every time we get past, we got to pass right back, and hopefully kind of slow up the pace so that we can stay up front and hopefully get a good result.
Looking for a solid result, Kayla Yakov there. She talks about that R7 tire. That was a change that came overnight at the direction of Dunlop, with MotoAmerica's safety at mind. Josh Hayes, you have more experience than anybody else out in the field, a career spanning over 31 years at this point. We're at the end of the year, some changes we know for everybody in the grid. How do you apply your experience here today?
That's a good question. I don't know. I just like racing. So I feel so fortunate, you know, like every single race I get to grid up for at this point, I already had an incredible career. So all of this is icing on the cake. So I'm super thankful to Bryce Prince, BPR Racing, Bryce Cornbaugh, BPR Racing. And yeah, you know, I had a pretty good race yesterday. I would say from Virginia, Mid-Ohio, we've started to make progress finally with the R9 and start making it feel like mine. And I'm getting closer and closer to that group that's Tyler Scott, Kayla, you know, a couple of those guys that are just off the leaders. And maybe today's the day, man. We're going to try to get up there and maybe finish it out the way we started the year.
This is the final race of this championship season. This is a one-year deal for you coming out here. When do we see Josh Hayes out at the racetrack next?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, you know, with any luck, Bryce had fun, and we'll get to come back and do it again. So it's hard for me to say no. I don't have an easy time walking away from the opportunity to grid up. When I think back about racing, you know, it's funny, it's not the riding. I think about the competition and the sportsmanship and being out here with, even though they're all so much younger than me, my peers. And I love every second of that.
We certainly love having you out here as well. Good luck today.
All right, so Josh Hayes looking to have some fun, and Jamie alluded to this Dunlop tire situation, and after the break, we're going to tell you more about that. But before we even get close to that, let's take a look at New Jersey Motorsports Park.
Yeah, Greg, what a great place, and it is packed with fans. Thank you, New Jersey. Fast turn 1 down there. You get that big straightaway. The S's here, Greg, have caught out so many, 3A, 3B, and C. Little short shoot. Turn 5 is our next big passing opportunity. Very tricky and underrated turn 6 here. Off-camber, fast right-hander, third gear on these bikes. Heartbreaking turn 7. Then you're up on the edge of the tire, Greg, all the way up that hill between 7 through 9. Not big steep hill, but enough to get that bike sideways. The important one, turn 12. Fast turn 12 here. Really, really fun turn as you make your way back to the start-finish line.
Great racetrack that creates great racing. But one rider who definitely loves it, this guy. #1 2 years in a row. Could we be seeing the last Supersport race for this 33-year-old? We're going to find out what he does after this.
Motovation Supersport is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By NXT Bets, play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sports books and DFS platforms all season long. And by Motovation, the most trusted online resource for premium motorcycle parts and accessories delivered right to your door. Find your motivation at motivationusa.com.
We are getting closer to the final Supersport race of the season, expecting quite the battle. And this one without people having to worry about the championship points. For PJ, he's going to want to go out, didn't win the title, he's going to be disappointed. So you know he's going to go out there and throw everything at it to at least end the season on the win. But Mathew Scholtz all weekend, we've talked about it, practice and qualifying. He has set a blistering pace, different tire this morning, and it was the same result in the warm-up.
Indeed, and I've never seen him smiling so much just in on the pit lane there as he got ready to go out onto the grid. So he's definitely, well, he looks quite serious there as we see him about to start the race, but he was all smiles earlier and looking like he's just going to go out and enjoy this one. PJ, as you mentioned, I was chatting to him just now on the grid, and we were talking about the fact that this could be his last Supersport race because he has confirmed he'll be moving to Superbike next season. So despite the fact that the podium position of second in the championship is wrapped up, you know he's going to be wanting to put on a good show and head into his next season with some strong momentum.
And not only in the season on a strong note and give the team a win as well. This is PJ's home area, so he's got a lot of people here that he grew up with here at the track watching him. It's not going to be difficult. We can look at some other names. Cam Peterson's been fast all weekend, even on the bagger there qualifying on that second row. Tyler Scott, all these guys are going to want to try to end the year on a strong note and try to put in a good performance and make an impression on some of these team owners.
Indeed, and Tyler Scott is going to be in that fight for fourth place. He is 10 points off of Cam Peterson, but Cam had a brilliant day, well, a brilliant weekend so far. Made the podium yesterday from the second row, but Tyler Scott starting just one position behind him on the grid. He is going to be in that battle for that fourth spot, so that's the battle that really is to play for in this Supersport Race 2.
Welcome back to New Jersey Motorsports Park. Hey, you can play MotoAmerica for cash. Superbike baggers and Supersport Series are now live on top sportbooks and DFS platforms. Scan the flow code or visit nxtbets.com/PlayMA. See what's available in your location. Sign up, claim exclusive bonuses, and make your picks now. Starting grid for this race, Jason Pridmore. Of course, we have the champion on pole, Scholtz, his teammate Davis, and PJ Jacobs.
And then we're going to have Cam Peterson, Ty Scott, and Kayla Yakov, who Jamie got to talk to a little bit ago, Jake Lewis, Brandon Posh, and Josh Hayes, Aiden Sneed, Corey Alexander, and Teague Hobbs. Then we're going to see Joe Lamandry Jr., who didn't get to do any laps yesterday, Greg, with a small slide-off. Collins, Max Van Nassini, who put in a great ride yesterday, Davis, and Yandel Medina. Rodeo De Silva, Enriquez, Owen Williams, Risting Greg, and Logan Monk. And then we're going to see Mag, Zaragoza, Omen, Horny, and Donde back there. 10 rows of riders here, Greg. It's going to be an interesting thing.
Look, as we look at PJ, let's talk a little bit about tires.
Yeah.
So what happened is that there was a delamination of tires. When I talked to Dunlop about it, these are the Japanese tires that have been being used all year. The R4 and the R6 were in the mix. Dunlop decided to just pull them off the shelf because this track, especially between turn 7 and turn 10, it put an extreme load on the tires. So they've been replaced, as you heard Kayla talk about it, by the R7 tire that they use in the Twins Cup category. So that's why a lot of people got a session to try to figure some stuff out. A little bit of an unknown.
I thought it was great that MotoAmerica did that this morning. These guys, their session was actually wet, and then they created another session for them once it got dry so they could all get a chance to go ride on this R7. So it's a level playing field for everybody. Let's see how it goes.
Final race of the season for Motovation Supersport, and here we go. to turn 1, and it looked like a good launch from the 22 in the middle part of your screen, and it was. Blake Davis got a great launch. Mathew Scholtz, his teammate, goes into second. Let's see if Scholtz gets aggressive up the inside on his teammate, and no, Blake Davis able to hold on to it. So for the moment, it's the 22 with the lead, and now look at all these riders behind. They're going to be mucking about trying to find some position, and it's PJ Jacobson, the number 15, on that Rahal Ducati Moto with Expel machine in third spot, and Cameron Peterson and the Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse HSBK Ducati in fourth.
I'm going to ask you real quick, Greg, to give me that pole position lap time again while I go ahead and tell you right now. We talked yesterday, we saw on the winner's podium, Blake Davis said he's going to bring the fight to his teammate today. And he mentioned it a couple times, didn't he? As we look at yesterday's, the time was a 20.9 at pole. This morning when they let these guys go out and ride and check these tires out, 21.6 was actually the fastest lap that Scholtz did. Not that big of a difference when you consider that Mathew went out and did a 20.9 in probably a 3 or 4 lap run. And he got a first chance on this bike because it looks like he tries to go up underneath Blake.
Whoa.
Blake left the door open, and Mathew's just going to go right, sliding up underneath him there. So we got the same 4 again, don't we? These guys have been at the front all year. We got Ty Scott chasing just behind them. As they come onto this front straightaway, let's see if Blake Davis can draft Mathew Scholtz.
Don't forget Motovation, Supersport, and anytime you're in MotoAmerica racing, this is a team sport, as Cam Peterson slots himself into third place. When you look at all 4 of these top teams, the Strack Racing, Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse, HSBK Ducati, Vision Wheel, M4 X-Star Suzuki, and Rahal Moto, Ducati Moto with Expel. All these teams are super experienced and top level. And so with this tire change that was thrown at him this morning, it looks like we have the same group out front again.
I ran into team owner Peter Strack this morning, Greg, and he said to me that Mathew left dinner last night. I said, I got to get to bed early as Josh Hayes gets up underneath. I believe that's Jake Lewis. Josh Hayes trying to get to that front, and that's going to put him up there, Greg, into 6th spot. But Mathew was so motivated last night, he said, I got to get to bed. I want to try to win tomorrow's race as well. So he realizes that, he's got the championship wrapped up. It's going to give him an opportunity to try to go out and just get another race win for his team. As, the big rumor in the paddock is Strack Racing going to Superbike with Mathew Scholtz next year. So that's going to be an interesting thing.
Why not give him just one more thing to cheer about for
exactly.
the number 1 plate, if this is indeed his last Motovation Supersport race in MotoAmerica, at least for the short-term future. It definitely could be for the 33-year-old from South Africa. Onto the front straightaway comes Scholtz, Jay, 1:21.9. That's the fastest lap of the race so far. And look at the pass for second place. A nice move by Cameron Peterson. He's going to try to get after his teammate, or his countryman. Of course, we have a Ducati versus the new Yamaha R9. But we'll see, because Scholtz on the other tire.
Yeah, PJ's gone backwards, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's gone backwards.
Yep.
But, the other tire, Scholtz had 0.7 of a second average a lap on the other riders as Cam Peterson. Nice draft and pass.
Really good.
Easy right up the inside.
Yeah, nice move there from Cam P, and he's having a great weekend as well. So let's see if he can keep that kind of trend going. The guy that's got pace is Josh Hayes. He's moving forward. Look, he's called up onto the back now of PJ Jacobson. That last time by, Josh goes 22.8 to PJ's 22.5, but you can see now the Yamaha R9 of that BPR Racing and Josh Hayes, he just rolls right up the inside of PJ, and see if PJ can close this line off, Jamie.
I was talking to Josh Hayes earlier today. Ooh, he's able to save it. Josh Hayes in that battle there with PJ Jacobson. I was asking him about that R7 tire that they're running, and they haven't run that tire since this race here last year in terms of competition, but Josh said that they did a test day earlier this year, and he actually threw that tire on just because he thought the harder compound would help him out, so he does have a little more current experience on it than anybody else in the field.
Yeah, that's a good bit of information, of course, because this bike wasn't here last year. This is the Yamaha R9, and it wasn't even available. So even if they had this tire last year, Yamaha, the riders were on R6s.
Look at this, Greg. He's just trying to squeeze a little bit of power out of it to beat PJ to the apex of the next corner, and just gets thrown up over the top a little bit.
So ambitious.
Yeah, I know, these kids these days, huh?
Yeah.
So you could see he was up alongside PJ, tried to do it. Look at him look over to the left, too. Looks over to the left to make sure there's not anybody else there. And he goes back up underneath PJ. They go into turn 5. Hayes makes that pass. So gotta love seeing this. And now he's got to put his head down because up the road a little bit from them now is Ty Scott. And looked like Ty was about 1.2 ahead of PJ Jacobsen that last time through.
Kayla with a problem. Yako, the number 19 on that Rahal Ducati moto with Expel. I saw her put her hand up for the moment, so something going on with Kayla's machine.
Greg, I ran into her this morning as well. She said Jason yesterday in the race, as happy as she was with her result, she's been having problems. That bike yesterday at full throttle wasn't running on song, and it was actually cutting out on her. They thought they had the bike fixed for her this morning. She went out in the wet to try to test it to see if it was fixed. As you see that replay of Josh Hayes going up the inside of PJ Jacobsen. And but for Kayla, that's a real shame. She has had a great year, and we know she'll be leading the fight next year.
PJ definitely marching backwards for him. We never see this from the number 15, second in the championship standings. All the while, it looks like Cameron Peterson has closed some of that gap up to Mathew Scholtz. It's now about 0.3 of a second. Boy, you can kind of hear these motorcycles aren't equipped with traction control like you have on your larger super bikes, and so you're hearing a lot of wheel spin that we normally don't hear from these machines. And that, of course, is a tire that nobody's run in race competition and 25 minutes of setup.
That's exactly right. And you know, again, it's kind of a, and I see Kayla actually just rode by our commentating position on the front straightaway, so she's back out. So, but for Cam Peterson, this is a really good stuff. 21.9 to your point, Greg, as he ran that the last race, last lap, 21.9 to 22.3 from Mathew. So Cam Peterson has found to be able to make that Ducati work, and you're going to see here is this Mathew getting sideways. Same spot we saw Josh get a little bit sideways. So this is a little bit harder tire, as we've been told, and as we know, you see 39. Is that Medina? I'm not sure who that is, Greg, but. We see him.
Medina.
Medina. Okay, Medina looks like
track team
he's
out of the Bronx.
He's coming into the pits.
Home race for Medina on this one.
How about
the pits?
21.7. Mathew just responded immediately. He says he's probably thought, you know, my pit board didn't say plus big enough gap, so I need to go a little bit quicker. Runs 21.7 to a 22.9 from Cam that last time through.
Now look, I understand that this is a new tire for them, the R7. It's a harder compound than they've been running all year, which, by the way, we have to say, did you talk to Rahal team manager Richie Alexander about the R4s and the R6s that they were running?
I did, yeah, and he told me that basically the R4s, they've been running them all season, Greg. They've not had a single problem with them at all, and so, you know, the fact that they decided to go this route with the R7 today was just a safety issue, yes.
Yeah, but I think if you look at the experience of Scholtz, of Peterson, even of a guy like Josh Hayes is in 5th place, the riders at the disadvantage are going to be a guy like Blake Davis and maybe even Ty Scott. Ty Scott's been around at this level a little bit longer, but with Scholtz and Peterson and you know, Josh Hayes, they've been in a situation before where they haven't had the tire they want to run. They have to run a harder tire because of any situation. So experience maybe we're seeing from Hayes. It's kind of like one of those like great equalizer type races, almost like rain race where Hayes is like, I'm going to dig deep here, use some of my experience, and put this BPR racing machine into 5th place. But Blake Davis on the 22, who got the good launch from the start, holding on to 3rd place, 2.5 seconds adrift of his teammate Scholtz on that Strack Racing Yamaha R9. What a debut season this motorcycle has had. You have to look at all the people in Cyprus and in Georgia from Yamaha that are looking at this motorcycle with all smiles on their face, because this Yamaha R9 has made quite an impact in Supersport, not only here in the United States, but abroad in World Supersport as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mathew just does a good job. He's just going to try to manage this the best that he can. And but Cam Peterson, it's interesting, you know, when you look at it, Greg, it's obviously PJ isn't as comfortable, but Cam's picked up kind of where he's been all season long. He's chasing Mathew down again, and they've opened up a bit of a gap. Ty Scott, as you said, battling with Blake Davis back here in 3rd and 4th. And, you know, for Ty, he's dying to get back up on the podium for that Vision Wheel M4 XR Suzuki team as well.
Yeah, he certainly is. So for Cameron Peterson, he has had just a fun weekend across the board for him.
Mathew just like a 10th or 2 quicker in each split. It's just enough right now, and you can see that gap just starting to stretch out. 2/10 in the first split, 1/10 in the second, and then 3/10 in the third. So for sure, Mathew's feeling really comfortable. And Greg, honestly, this tire should last itself pretty much throughout the race. We're looking at a 21.8. Mathew's the only one in the 21s still at a 21.8 that last time by. Put that in perspective. The battle for 3rd is in the mid-23s. Josh Hayes, that time, mid-23. But Brandon Posh, let's give him a shout out. We've seen him the last 3 races riding for the Doritos team. He goes 23 flat. So he's going to be trying to pull up and try to get a top 5.
So the gap remains the same from Blake Davis to the front runner. 3.5 seconds or so, 3.7. And Josh Hayes now 3.7 seconds back from Ty Scott. That's what you're seeing on the left part of your screen. As we have about 11.5 laps to go in Motovation Supersport race number 2. And things have kind of settled down. And this is kind of what we would expect. For teams that have a new tire that they're running, this R7, the harder compound tire, to try to figure out what's going on. They had a 25-minute session, but it's about the setup. Here comes Posh.
Love seeing this from Brandon. Brandon's a kid. Oh, Cam Peterson. Oh,
unfortunately
Cam
for Cam, on the Celtic Economy Lube and Tire Warhorse HSBK Ducati Panigale V2, he is down, and he has collected some foliage with him.
Yes, he has.
He's going to try to get it going again.
He gets out wide. Yeah, got out wide out on the paint. And, you know, Greg, it's like we've had the sun beaten down, so I don't know how much water or anything could still be in the middle of that paint. But that looked pretty weird how it just kind of happened there. But you can tell he looks like he's more mad with himself. Yeah, for sure mad at himself right now. And that's going to give Mathew a big lead now.
The hardest part was, and that lap, a 1:21.5, so fastest lap of the race. So Cam P is trying to at least maintain the distance, if not close it. And unfortunately, maybe possibly the setup, the different feeling from the bike, whatever it was, just a simple mistake from Cameron Peterson, and he found himself on the ground.
Honestly, Cam just wants to win so bad for this team. So that is the thing.
What a cool number 1. The gold for this final Motovation Supersport race of the season, as now Mathew Scholtz, who continues to, as we would, that keeps happening there. Yeah. And again, you know, maybe it just happens to do with gearing, right? You're right in the torque curve, maybe, and you're transitioning.
And where all weekend he's been giving it that little bit extra that he wants to give it. You know, he just can't do it right now. But I mean, 21.5. I'm interested to see. Have to go look back yesterday, Greg, see what the lap times were fastest yesterday. But Matthew's living in the 21s. He's living in the 21s. Everybody else on track's doing 23s. So this just goes to show you this guy needs to be on a superbike and trying to win our championship in superbike category next year, because he's riding so well.
And
you can see it just zip around on him a bit.
Yeah, a little movement. He barely felt that.
You can see the gap he's got. There's a battle for second still.
Yeah.
As you look at Blake Davis and Ty Scott.
Just to answer your question, 21.554.
There you go.
The fastest lap of the race yesterday. Scholtz has gone 21.588. So just 400 deaths, 400ths of a second off. So same. Pretty incredible when you had 25 minutes to set up the bike with a tire that you haven't seen all year.
100%. And it's like, it just goes to show the level of rider that he is, the way he's been able to adapt. Now let's get back to this. Brandon Posh gets that Doritos GSX-R 750 into 5th place as he goes past Josh Hayes. And, you know, we've seen Brandon in our paddock over the years win championships. Obviously in Junior Cup way back in the day. We've seen him ride Supersport bikes. We've seen him on a bagger. We've seen him in Superbike riding for that Vision Wheel M4 X-Star Suzuki team. And it's really good to see Brandon out here, and he's doing a great job for this new team, Jamie.
And we didn't see Brandon at all after the Daytona 200 this year until we got to the race back at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course when this ride became available, and he was doing a marketing job working for a dealership, and he said, yeah, I'll take some vacation time. I'll come out and get back on the bike. And he really wants to do it in order to prove that he should be out here. He should be on a bike full time, and he has really put his name on that list for this ride for the full time next year, especially when you consider the fact that the next time we have Supersport out on the racetrack will be for the Daytona 200, and it's a points playing race. So Brandon wanting to ensure that he can put his name on that list as Josh Hayes now gets around him.
And he gets to battle with Josh Hayes, 4-time Superbike champion.
Like it is the Daytona 200.
Like it is. Brandon has a look over his shoulder, sees that there's nobody there. He's got to worry about one guy, and he just happens to be in front of him, and that's Josh Hayes. So for Brandon, this is great because Doritos they've made a pretty big imprint in our paddock, as you see Cam Peterson very frustrated on the right side. And when we get new teams come into our paddock and do as good of a job as these guys are doing down there, Dustin Dominguez obviously a big part of this, and I know Rob Silver's there as well. These guys have done really good on getting a rider like Brandon involved and getting them some good results.
Yeah, and a good solid platform too. And this next generation Supersport, which we don't talk a ton about any longer, you know, such a variety and a mix of machines that are competing against each other, all controlled to equalize themselves out. It's Hayes a little bit of a bobble again with that R9, but the GSXR 750 is a great platform, especially for a team that wants performance with not a big budget buster. You know, you dial some power out of this GSXR 750 and it allows you to basically race one entire season on a motor, and that's very appealing to a lot of teams. Here is Corey Alexander, the 23 machine. He is on the Rahal Ducati Moto with roller die and forming in what looks like his last race, at least for this team, for the 2025 season, as we expect Corey Alexander to be racing.
Joe.
Yeah, Bazooka Joe getting after it. Local guy.
Love it. Joe didn't get to go very far with us yesterday. We saw him fall over in turn 2, and he's just battling with two guys that have been racing all season long. And look at the speed. Joe Lamandry's on an old R6 and doing such a good job. And another kid that should be in our series full time is Joe Lamandry Jr. Yeah. He's going to line up Corey. Tried to line up Corey into turn 5.
Not just yet. The boss Barkon Racing Yamaha R6 of Joe Lamandry Jr. out of Garden City, New York. Smoking Joe, Bazooka Joe. And he is racing up Corey Alexander, who, of course, was doing double duty this season on the Arch machine in the Super Hooligans category. And I think that Corey, we expect him full-time next year on that program. Perhaps a couple of visits somewhere else in the paddock during the course of the year, maybe when Hooligans aren't racing. But Corey Alexander, one of our finest. Now we ratchet back a little further. Yeah. There's T. Hobbs on the BPR Racing machine. Torrin Collins in the mix, Desaney. And is that Aiden Sneed?
Aiden Sneed right behind them.
In 13th place on that MV Agusta. All right, back up towards the front we go. And it is Ty Scott who is now past Blake Davis. So the Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki rider on the GSXR 750 that we were just talking about passes 4th position. Scholtz still almost 12 seconds up the road.
Oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's just so dialed in right now. As we still have 6.5 laps to go in Motovation Supersport. 22 is not going to give up. There he goes up the inside.
Ty just opens the door bigger than you could open it there for Blake, and Blake's not going to need a second invitation to just jump down the inside of Ty Scott into turn 5. So Ty gets back in front. I think that will not be an option for Blake again, but we'll see. These two are going to battle it all the way out to the end of it. Also, I'll make note here too, Greg, that PJ Jacobson's found a little bit of form. That tire must be coming back to him. He's in the 22s. The other guys are in the 23s, but Blake Davis was saying he was going to get up there with Mathew today, Jamie, but he's a little bit far behind still.
Yeah, he's certainly not as comfortable as what Mathew Scholtz is out there right now. And I asked him about that and how he was planning on staying with them. And he said when they went back and watched everything that happened yesterday, what he was able to notice was the fact that Mathew's able just to go side to side a lot easier than what Blake was able to do. And that's really been one of the stories all season long, and the strength that Mathew Scholtz has had. And Blake's really worked on it. In fact, over the course of this season, as Ty Scott gets back around him, he's actually gained about 10 pounds just in total body weight. But more than that, he's been able to bulk up a little bit, try to work on his strength and being able to move around a bit. So he's going to carry that into the offseason. And when you look at the full results from these 18 races, Blake Davis and Mathew Scholtz are the only two that have been able to finish each and every one of them. So he has a lot of momentum to take forward.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really part of it, developing not only the confidence, the new motorcycle, but what do I need as a human being to compete in this class? We've seen plenty of riders that are really good in Motovation Supersport go to Superbike and need to do that, need to bulk up and need to figure out how to ride a bike in a different way. So a lot of times that's what these categories dictate.
Well, the races are usually a little bit longer, Greg. You got more speed to slow down from on a Superbike. So this is the future of our Superbike class right here. You're looking at two young men here that I believe will be on Superbikes eventually. And both might have that avenue. If Strack does move up to Superbike next year, they're creating a pathway for our younger riders as well. And we know what Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki's done over the years, bringing young riders through their program. So, you know, for Ty Scott, I know Ty, he wants to be up there winning races. So these two guys are probably going to be locking horns for years to come.
When they came across that time, Ty Scott was out front. Here comes Davis up the inside. If you're wondering about the championship, of course, Scholtz wrapped it up. PJ Jacobson's in second place, 46 points behind, but then you have Blake Davis, Cameron Peterson, and Ty Scott. Now Ty isn't in a position where he can reel in Blake Davis. He's comfortably in third. But Ty Scott was only 10 points behind in the championship to Cameron Peterson. So with the good results for Ty Scott, he might bump himself up from 5th in the championship to 4th by the end of this race.
Yeah. It's been a consistent year for Ty. It's just not the kind of year he wants. He wants to be winning races, and we've seen him do that in the past. So for Ty, he's just trying to get himself back into a spot where he can position himself to win more races next year. And with Mathew obviously leaving the class and PJ leaving the class, you know, that announcement was made at COTA that Ray Hall has taken PJ Jacobsen up. So our 1st and 2nd in the championship for the last 2 years are going to be moving out. So it's really going to be up to somebody to step up, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And when you look at the championship, if you just eject the first 2 at the top, Scholtz and PJ, it's Blake Davis, Cam Peterson, and Ty Scott. And we're not exactly sure what Cameron Peterson's going to be doing. And then Kayla Yakov in the points. So very interesting that we could be looking at 2026 race action up front for a championship unfolding in front of our eyes with 4 laps to go in Motovation Supersport race number 2.
15.2 seconds, Greg. The battle right now is for 4th. Big battle for 4th between PJ Jacobsen, Brandon Posh, Josh Hayes. They just come past our commentary position. And also, Lamandry was 7th the last time through over Corey Alexander. So we got battles happening throughout. We're locked in on this one for 2nd right now because we want to see how this podium is going to finish out. But there are groups of riders just battling things out right now inside our top 10.
Yeah, and a lot of what you're seeing too, I think, is just lack of setup time with this R7 rear tire that's made in the U.S. and that is being used in the Twin Cup category. And it just shows you, Jay, how important. Like, if you're watching motorcycle road racing for the first time, of any motorsport that you watch, Jay, you tell me. The rubber meets the road is more important in motorcycle road racing than any other motorsport we see.
Well, I mean, car guys are going to make a lot of, you know, an argument there for downforce with downforce cars that, you know, you got to rely on the grip when you put that much downforce into a car. The thing I like about this is it's such rider feel. You can have rider aids on a motorcycle, but when you're on the edge of the tire and you know you're on the edge of the tire, you have to respect that, both braking and accelerating, where, you know, for me, you know, to your point, it's so important where the rubber meets the ground that that you have that feel and you have that edge feel. And there's a lot of things I think that when it comes to our sport, probably being a little bit biased, but to our sport, you definitely have to have a certain smoothness and feel about it. You know, when you watch what these guys are doing.
How about PJ Jacobsen?
He's done a nice job.
4th place.
Rebounding, you know?
Yeah, 5 seconds now behind Ty Scott, so he's able to get around Brandon Posh and Josh Hayes, who continue to race themselves. But PJ has just really kind of sorted it out, and this is the skill level and racing intelligence of PJ Jacobsen to be able to. It took him a bit, but he's able to sort it out.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, he had to wait for that tire to come in to get himself comfortable. So the first 2 or 3 or 4 laps was a bit of a struggle for him. But looking at his lap times, he's been in the 22s a lot. He's in the 23s now, but he's been in the 22s a lot to catch up to the 96 and the number 4 there of Josh Hayes. So the thing is that PJ now starting to stretch that out just a little bit. Never going to give up. He realizes this is kind of his last run, I think, probably for a while in Supersport.
Yeah, we know that as he hauls off to the Superbike category with his Ray Hall Ducati Moto team. Looking forward to seeing that new Panigale V4R and PJ Jacobsen aboard that. All right, so as we go down to 2 laps to go, this is the battle for 4th place between Jacobsen, Posh, the number 96, and Josh Hayes on the 4, and then Lamandry Jr., Corey Alexander, Jake Lewis, Teague Hobbs, your top 10.
See Josh Hayes taking a look down the inside now at Brandon Posh, so he wants to try to get some pace and go after PJ if he can. These riders all riding around the 23s, low 23s. I looked up, Greg, and I saw that Ty Scott has fallen behind Blake Davis by about 0.7 of a second. So I'm not sure if they ran into some slower traffic or what it was, but Ty Scott definitely off the back a little bit of Blake, so we'll see if he can close that gap. But this battle for 4th, look at Hayes actually has a lot of pace. I mean, he's closed right back up, hasn't he?
And he's having a ton of fun.
Yes.
You know, he mentioned it at the opening part of the race. Is a big, we had some rain overnight, by the way.
Wow.
So that was a puddle that PJ just rode through right off the edge of the racetrack. And hopefully for Hayes, he didn't get any on his visor, but he does have a tear off left. I can see that on his Arai helmet. But for Hayes, I know the 50-year-old is having a ton of fun To think that he's racing right now with second in points, P.J. Jacobsen, will put a big smile on Hayes' face. White flag out. Final lap for Mathew Scholtz, who's way out front. We're still waiting for Blake Davis to come across the stripe as our battle for fourth continues. Onto the front straightaway, these riders go. So 15.3 seconds for the 22, and it looks like the 70 has closed back up. So the final 2 spots on the podium, second and third, continues.
He just goes and runs a 10th off his best lap of the race. He goes 22.4. So I knew that something had happened that last lap because he was at like a 23.7. To dig that deep, last couple laps of the season, you know, he's trying to show himself to his team that, hey, I'm not giving up on this. And the 70 is there now on the back of the 22 again. So let's see if Ty can get close enough, maybe try to do something with that Strack Racing R9 at the finish line. So, you know, for Ty, this has just been a nice run back this last lap and a half.
So with Mathew Scholtz clearly out front, the national champion, putting a stamp on it one more time in the final Motovation Supersport race of the 2025 season. As we look at Blake Davis, Strack Racing Yamaha, Fishing Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, Ty Scott battling for second and third, so they can join this guy on the left part of your screen, the number 1, Scholtz, with a big victory. Now here we come onto the front straightaway. Who's going to stand next to him? Just a little higher up in second place. Here we go. It's the big run. Ty Scott trying to get a handful of that GSXR. Here comes the finish line. Scott out wide, and he will do it. He'll get it done by 0.013 seconds. And now the battle. Look at Hayes and Posh, and it's going to be P.J. Jacobsen in fourth, Posh in fifth, and Hayes in sixth place.
I would like to see how that all handled. And you can see here, you look at Lemandry trying to draft Corey Alexander, and he's going to do it. Lemandry ends up 7th. On that old R6, Greg, what a job from him. And Corey Alexander, 8th, Jake Lewis, 9th, Torrin Collins. Good to see him back in the top 10.
Well, for Scholtz, when it comes down to it, 121.588. And by the way, Sector 4, the final sector of this racetrack, the fastest sector time of the race by Ty Scott, 12.686 seconds in that final sector, was able to get him that second place finish by 13 hundredths of a second. Well, Mathew Scholtz on lap number 8 does his fastest lap and then settled into cruise control. And your number 1 plate, getting to run that gold number 1, possibly, rumor mill for the final time for quite a while. We'll come back to New Jersey Motorsports Park and chat up Mathew Scholtz about his race.
What a dominating performance by Mathew Scholtz, winning by 14 seconds. He even slowed down a little bit the last couple laps, or it would have been well over 15 seconds. And just talk about the confidence that he's had this weekend, the last couple races, the Strack Racing. He was the only guy that was able to make that arc to do the exact same lap time on the tire that they had yesterday. And you can just see it in his face. He's relaxed, he's confident, and it's translating over on the track.
Indeed, as I was saying before the race, he was smiling away as he went towards his bike to go onto the grid. Have you had moments like that when you've had a title wrapped up, Roger, and you just get out there and enjoy yourself?
Yeah, those races are the ones you still had those personal goals, though, especially for Matt. I know he wanted to match a win total for the year and for the team also. And for him, he didn't have no pressure today. There was just go out there and have fun and let it hang out. And he was able, really, it just came down to practice and qualifying for Matt. He just had such a dominating performance. When you have over a half a second a lap when you're competitors, it just really takes the pressure off.
Indeed. But what a race for Tyler Scott. We were talking about that battle for fourth between him and Cam Peterson. Sadly, Cam Peterson going over there, but it did mean that Tyler Scott, who in his own right took P2 today, will get that fourth place that they were battling over.
Yeah, that's a great ride for Tyler. He needed that. The team needed that as well. Just a really good performance for him, and just put a great run with the last 2 laps. It looked like Blake was kind of slowly pulling away. You know, Blake's going to be a little disappointed with that because he wants the team to go first and second, but that's the way it goes.
But what an exciting finish that was. That checkered flag So many bikes changing positions and fighting for those final spots on the line. What a way to have a final race of Supersport for 2025.
Welcome back to New Jersey Motorsports Park. The end of Motovation Supersport race number 2. The end of Motovation Supersport season. The results have Mathew Scholtz with a 14.2 second margin of victory after he had kind of a nice celebratory final lap at a 24.3. And then Blake Davis and Ty Scott getting after it, with Scott getting the nod. PJ, Posh, Hayes, Lamandry, Alexander, Lewis, and Torrin Collins. We had races across the board in this one. A very interesting race as they got a new tire thrown at them this morning. And I think Mathew Scholtz, it didn't bother him too much. Jay, we talked about it. Right. Literally a couple hundredths of a second off his fastest lap from yesterday.
Just literally riding, riding like a guy that just won 2 championships and is ready to move up. That's what it looks like to me. And a lot of confidence. Loves his team. Team looks strong. And let's get down to Jamie.
For Mathew Scholtz, it's the 11th win of the season to really put an exclamation point on this Supersport championship for you, Mathew. And you look ahead to the future and you remember everything that you were able to accomplish this year. What's going to stand out the most?
I mean, it was just a brilliant season all around. This R9 motorbike has been great. We had to run the US R7 tires. They feel a little bit harder, a little bit stiffer. But we made some setup changes and I felt great out there. I felt like I could have stayed in the 21s, but you know, once I saw that the gap opened up, I think Cam might have crashed somewhere. I hope he's good. He's been on the ground and he's hurt. But otherwise, just thank you to the team. It was an awesome race. I was just able to kind of ride my lines and open up the gap, and I'm very, very happy to end off the season like this and looking forward to 26 and seeing what we can do.
There was no pressure from behind. Congratulations to Mathew Scholtz, our 2025 Motovation Supersport champion. And for the 3rd time this season, Tyler Scott's able to find himself on the podium. But it's been 14 race days since you've been able to celebrate over here. What were you trying to prove on those final couple of laps?
Yeah, it's been a long time since we were up here, and I'm happy to be back and at least defeat all but one of the R9s, and it feels good to be able to battle at the front again. Thanks to the whole Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki team, all the work that they put in all year. My mom, dad, all my family that came out to support this weekend. Davey, everyone that's helped this year made a super big impact, and we're going to build off of this performance today, and we're looking forward to wins and the championship next year.
Certainly a lot to take forward. Congratulations to Tyler Scott. Moving to Blake Davis, who was right there in the thick of it all day. Had high hopes of going after his teammate, being able to stay a little bit closer. But Blake, the 11 podium finishes that you've had this year, what will you reflect on the most in the offseason?
Really, I just need to close the gap to Matt. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to be here next year or not, but either way, I have to drop lap times and learn how to adjust to what's going on with the bike today. I wasn't really a fan of the tires, but other people made it work better, so I just have to get better at that.
A lot of new lessons to come for this young rider. Congratulations.
Yeah, and that's all part of the experience, right? I mean, he's still young and he's still learning, and he's got the greatest attitude.
And communicating with your team. That's the thing. You communicate with your guys to make it better. This guy did it best today. As you heard him say that he made some changes and felt like he could do 21
So
the whole
Scholtz
race.
celebrates this big win. He waves to the fans with that gold #1. Our coverage continues from NJMP after this break. Hang tight.
Back as we continue the Supersport race. Mathew Scholtz with the win, Tyler Scott second. A couple other names to look at. Joseph Lamandry there, 7th. Great ride for him. Jake Lewis, 9th. Torrin Collins inside the top 10. Aiden Sneed's had some good rides this year. He ends up 12th. But now we look at the podium. Tyler Scott mentioned how big this was for him, and it was definitely something that he can build on. The team can go into the offseason and build on that. He had a great ride with Blake, and he was able to come out on top for this one. Jessica Strack's going to get up there and be able to receive the team trophy with her and her 2 riders up there. I like in Blake's interview where he said he has to adjust better. All the other guys were able to do it, and that is exactly the attitude that he has, and he's so young and he'll get used to that. But these guys just ran into somebody really tough, and that's Mathew Scholtz on a bike that he mentioned it earlier in the interview this weekend, how he feels like he's been riding better than ever, and it definitely has been the case. I mean, that was a dominating performance this weekend, and the run that he's been on toward the end of this season has just been really, really impressive for him. And if he does move up to Superbike, it's going to be Blake's turn to move up and be the guy to try to fight for the title next year and bring wins. And guys like Tyler Scott's going to be tough, and other names to look at moving up into Supersport next year. Alessandro DeMario is going to be on PJ Jacobson's bike next year. Young up-and-coming talented rider. Kayla Yakov's going to have another year of experience as well. So if Matt moves on, there's definitely a lot of new names able to ready put that #1 plate back on their bike. But I think Tyler Scott and Blake Davis got to be the two that you're looking at as we start to look at 2026 if Matt does move on to Superbike.
Motovation Supersport is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series. By NXT Bets, play MotoAmerica for cash. Multiple race classes live on top sports books and DFS platforms all season long. And by Motovation, the most trusted online resource for premium motorcycle parts and accessories delivered right to your door. Find your motivation at motivationusa.com.
When you dig deep into the record books in 10 years from now, this is what you're going to see. Mathew Scholtz, 383 points. BJ Jacobson, second in the championship with Blake Davis. And yep, you can see Ty Scott was able to just kind of work his way up there. But Jamie is with our two-time national champion.
And when you look back through those record books and you see Mathew Scholtz as a back-to-back Motovation Supersport champion, you're going to know that it came after 18 races where he never finished outside of the top 5, 16 of them on the podium, 11 race wins for you this season. Mathew, think about all of the races that you've run. When you go back and you reflect on it, what makes this championship different?
I mean, it's just been a brand new motorbike for us. It's the first year that the R9 has been out. So, at least last year with the R6, we had data to kind of look at gearing, everything out. So that helped that on Friday from the first practice, we were on pace. But even this year, we kind of got the gearing right out of the box. The setup has been great. Barely had to change anything really from the halfway point of the season. And I think that we showed today, whether we were on the Japanese or the US tires, soft, hard, compound, whatever, that we are the fastest out there. So that was great. Just one more thank you to the Strike Racing team. It's been a fantastic season and looking forward to 26.
I'd like to make an official announcement that this man will be on a Superbike next year.
Breaking news
goodness.
here from New Jersey Motorsports Park. We will see Mathew Scholtz back in Superbike. You can hear from all of the fans here around the podium area that now is a back-to-back Motovation Supersport winner. One of the things that you do know from winning that championship last year is that Tom Duma Fine Jewelers of Ohio will be providing you with a custom piece of jewelry that you're going to get to help design. Knowing what your options are now, what is this one going to look like?
I'm not even sure. I can't even think about that right now, but I'm just happy to actually collect a second championship and put that up on the mantelpiece. And like I said, just heard the announcement now for the first time. That's been confirmed, so I don't care about that. I'm just happy to be riding a Superbike again.
You had no idea?
No, I mean, we have been talking about it, but nothing had been confirmed, so now that's confirmed now. I can't even think about anything besides hopping on a Superbike again.
Congratulations.
Now it literally went in 1 second to all I want to do now is go test. Let's get on that Superbike. We are so happy for Mathew Scholtz and the Strike Racing team to have him back in the premier class. He deserves it after 2 great championships, and thanks to Peter Strack and his wife for such an outstanding opportunity. All right, we're going to continue our coverage. Hey, how do you like breaking news? We'll be back to Millville after this.
And I cannot wait to see Matt back on the Superbike next year. Superbike class is going to be tough. You got PJ Jacobson moving up as well. And then you go back and you look at the racing order for Supersport. Guys like Cam Peterson, if he's going to come back to the class. Tyler Scott, Kayla, we mentioned those two. Brandon Posh, Jake Lewis, Aiden Sneed, Teague Hobbs. They got to see a couple of the guys they've been fighting for the title last couple years move on, and they got to see this can be their opportunity. And I think for Blake and Tyler Scott, this is going to be the rivalry that's going to move on going into next season. These two guys are some good young up-and-comers. We mentioned how DeMario is going to be moving to Supersport as well. So you got guys that are going to move out. There's still be plenty of young kids to move in as we look at the overall points podium there with Matt obviously winning the title. PJ there, not the way he wanted to finish the season for PJ kind of fell back a little bit more in the race, but he's able to work himself inside the top 5. But Blake Davis, great year for him. Huge learning year for Blake. I think he learned a lot from Matt. And PJ, you can see just a little disappointed. He wanted to, even when you get beat, man, you just want to go and you want to put up a fight. But look at this guy. Another trophy to the mantle. They've collected a lot of them. The crew chief award there for Matt's crew chief. They've got a lot of awards. You see the team there with Peter Strack and Jessica. They've put together a great team in a short amount of time. And look how happy he is. And now he's going to go superbike racing. That's what happens when you start winning in Supersport. You want to go up, and he wants to race against the big boys next year, and they're going to be able to make that happen with Matt. And the way he's riding right now, he is going to be competitive when he moves up. So Blake, all eyes are going to be on you next year on that R9 to see what you can do.
Back at New Jersey Motorsports Park for podium celebrations. And Yamaha is all smiles on the launch of their R9. And I'm going to tell you, for Mathew Scholtz, so impressive to go back-to-back championships. He said it with this brand new motorcycle. For this team to come out and be able to win on that motorcycle, it has been pretty incredible. But the news of the hour is not just the 2-time, is the fact that Peter Strack made the announcement that he is going to be on a superbike for 2026, and we're going to have to assume that that superbike is going to be a Yamaha. Well, what a season it's been in Motovation Supersport for 2025. Mathew Scholtz put on a clinic, but he showed the young bucks how to get it done as they move this class forward. We certainly hope you enjoyed our coverage all season long. We certainly did. For Jamie and Jason, thanks for watching our coverage of Motovation Supersport Race number 2, our final of the 2025 season. We look forward to seeing you again in 2026.